Right, well, we're the warm-up act before Bill Gates, and I should warn you that no one will be allowed to leave the room without signing a pledge to give away half of your wealth. It's a great pleasure to be with Bill Drayton. Bill is one of the three Bills that I write about in my book, Philanthrocapitalism, along with Bill Gates and Bill Clinton. And I think in some ways, Bill Drayton may turn out to be the most influential in the long run of the three of them, because he addresses this extraordinary question about the coming together of philanthropy and the desire to make a better world with capitalism and the entrepreneurial impulse. And his organization, Ashoka, has been, I think, one of the organizations that has most attracted the technology world in terms of one of these new philanthrocapitalistic organizations. 5% of the people here in the audience at this event are Ashoka Fellows, which says something. And companies like Google, people like Pierre Omidyar and Jeff Skoll, and Indian entrepreneurs like the people who founded Infosys have all been supporters of Ashoka. And Bill is really I think the thinker behind so many social entrepreneurs. And I just wanted to open up, Bill, by asking you, I mean, one of the things that struck me in researching philanthrocapitalism was that a lot of people from the technology world tended to see technology as a sort of magic bullet in building a better world in some of the developing parts of the world, including, I guess, our next speaker has been accused of that rather laser-like focus on technology. Is that your sense, and have you had that reinforced or disabused by your time here at the conference?
Well, I think this conference is actually trying to get beyond that. Technology and economics are the two driving forces, but the faster things move, the more urgent it is to see the whole. You know, the ant and the helicopter seeing the whole elephant. The faster things move, the further you have to see into the future, because that's all a part of the present, in effect. So what is the most powerful engine of change? It really is when you change the human systems. So the phalanx ended the city-states, and we had a little problem after that because no one figured out how to have democracy continue beyond small town meetings. And we had a very rough 2,000 years as a result. So I think that's part of the challenge for us here. How do we see the whole, think ahead, and think about the human systems, recognizing that technology and economics are drivers. And that's where the entrepreneurs come in. But the trick is individual entrepreneurs solve a problem, and that's true in any field. You need to look at the group of entrepreneurs, and the group of entrepreneurs have to think and act together, entrepreneur together. And that's something that's very new, and it's something that we have brought to the point now that it's actually working.
As we were talking beforehand, that the first wave of Ashoka was really about coining this concept of social entrepreneurship, which was really more at the business model of the individual social entrepreneur and how you could bring entrepreneurial perspectives to dealing with social problems. But you're now talking about designing Ashoka 2.0, which is taking it to the next level. What do you mean by that next level? What are the key components of it?
Well, we have about 3,000 carefully selected social entrepreneurs. Over half of them have changed national policy within the first 5 years of their launch, and 3/4 have changed the pattern in their field. Willie, who was just on the last panel, is an example. Now, each of those individual solutions are important, but when you look across any particular field, when you get a couple of hundred in a field, you know several things. A big change is coming. There's a new S-curve out there, a new paradigm. And we've developed the methodology of looking at the individual stories, seeing the patterns, what are the common questions and answers. But that's only a clue to what you're really looking for. What is the real new paradigm? And then the idea, you have an idea and you implement it as a craziness from the past. The entrepreneurial process is constant creation. So once we know where we're going, how do we get there? And if I may use an example, the world we're going to is a world where change is so fast that the old way we've organized, which is a few people managing everyone else doing repetitive functions, whether that's agriculture or the assembly line, won't work. Because change is going on all around, and the game is, how do you contribute to this change and this change? And everyone in your organization has to be a member of a team. The organization becomes a team of teams. To be a team, everyone has to be a player in a world defined by change. That means you have to be a change maker. All right, well, we have 500 fellows focused on children and young people. This world that I've just been describing, every one of us, and I really do not mean the small elite, the people here that are used to thinking everyone means us, I mean everybody. We have to move to a world where everyone has a different set of skills. The old paradigm of growing up was learn knowledge and learn the rules and you'd be fine. That's from a static world. That's still what we do, leave no child behind, all those tests, etc. This country will be Detroit at a national level in 15 years unless we change right now what's happening with children and young people.
So what's Ashoka's strategy to transform everybody into a change maker?
Well, first of all, meet here. If everyone here can see that's where you're going, you can manage your institutions better, and you can deal with your kids in a different way. So let me take one example. Young children must master the skill of empathy. Any child who doesn't in first, second, third grade is on a path to being marginalized. Empathy today means you've got to watch yourself, watching all the people around you, layers out into the future and in institutions. And if you don't have the ability to do that, you are going to hurt people and you're going to disrupt institutions. Why? Because in a world of very rapid change, the proportion of every human life covered by the rules gets less because the rules haven't been invented, they're in conflict, they're changing. So you have to have the skill. You can't go on to teamwork or leadership or change making unless young children master this skill. So a Canadian fellow can take kids who do not have this skill, and in 20 hours, first, second grade, they grasp it. She brings an infant less than 1 year old to the class, and it's that interaction that does it. She's gone from 2 classrooms to 14,000, just started in Seattle this year.
So the other issue we were talking about this morning was the hybrid value chain, where again, you're looking at getting businesses to work together with traditional civil society organizations, where again, I think the big challenge is empathy, because often those worlds just don't even know how to talk to each other. Can you just talk a bit about the hybrid value chain idea? But
before that, if I may just continue on this for a second, other fellows know how to deal, having kids practice empathy. Now, think about the schools that you know of. How many principals know that they're failing if they've got one first grader who's not grasped this skill? It's not even being discussed. So our job collectively, entrepreneuring together, is in 5 years, we want 80% of the elementary schools all across the world to know this is what you've got to do and here's how you do it. How do we do that? Entrepreneuring together, we focus on the 7 to 9 places in the world that you have to tip the world: China, Indonesia, India, Brazil, US, German-speaking world, etc. Now, in those places, all we have to do in the next 5 years, with your help, is get 5% of the influential principals to get it and do it, and thoughtful, respected people like Matthew who write to say, this is really key. Now, if we can do that, that's one of the building blocks to an everyone a change maker world, and I really do mean everyone again.
Well, unfortunately, actually, Bill Gates is waiting to come on, and we don't want to keep him waiting any longer. On the hybrid value chain question, I think it's a hugely important issue. We had a fantastic discussion this morning that was recorded. I do urge you to listen to it. In particular, Bright Simons of M Pedigree has a proposal that he thinks will only cost $3.5 million that would get the whole of Africa fighting counterfeit drugs, which is a huge problem across Africa. So do talk to him and ideally invest in that solution. But Bill, I thank you for your challenge, and I think you want to hear from people in this room who are going to help you change the way our schools work so that empathy is a basic, and entrepreneurialism is a basic skill that people come out with when they leave the educational system. So thank you very much for inspiring us.
Great. Thank you.